field. For me, knowledge is like an time and space. It has ever existed all through the time. So because of that, knowledge management has been very hard to really define what is knowledge management, because mentioned it existed forever and humans have always operated in this field. Now, when it comes to knowledge cycle, right? Man invented, started gathering food and then became a hunter. Then learned about agriculture. Then Stone Age, and started developing tools, transportation, and steam engine, electricity. Now computer, internet, etc. Right? So one knowledge cycle has ramification. It's creating multi knowledge cycle. Probably a century back, or steam engine has created multiple chip or a diode created this whole computer and internet, web, economy. I mean, it has multiple huge ramification in terms of knowledge cycle, right? This is the knowledge cycle. So now when it comes to knowledge management per se, for me, it is all, it's not so easy. It's very complex. At the same time, uh, when to be very honest with you, when this knowledge management standard was in development, I was very skeptical and I was a strong critic. In fact, John also, we had a discussion about these things. I was really strong. I mean, I really kind of had two minds how it is possible. But over 20 years of my work experience, I've always developed knowledge management requirements for some of these standards, like whether it is ISO 9001 or CMMI, or whether even auto spice requirements. Knowledge management was always one of the component, whether COPC, or even as a matter of ISO 2000, 20000 managed services. And there are multiple frameworks like ITIL and COVID, etc., etc. For me, the challenge was always like, when I started my career in knowledge management, there was always a challenge in terms, how do I refer what I am doing? Is it right? Am I in the right direction? How do I go about it? There were a lot of theories. There are a lot of other, there's a tons of material on internet, but it does not really give us that kind of anchoring which an individual or a profession needs. I think that's where this whole ISO 401 really caters to. First of all, knowledge management itself, in terms of anchoring, it creates a foundation for us, the 30401, and I would say this is a landmark in the field of knowledge management, right? So let me share my personal experience in terms of when we it's about almost 15 20 I mean 50 years back, when we kind of wanted to really kind of implement knowledge management across the organization. We try to go through various vendors, we try to do various methodology. The challenge was we never knew how to benchmark. Yeah, with this standard, I think we have reached a point where or the standard provides us an ontological framework. Yeah, a common framework across the organizations, which we can understand, saying that okay, this particular this is how we can go about implementing knowledge management system. Now, what is knowledge management system? When we talk about knowledge management system, there are various elements which we talk about. The processes, whether it is acquire knowledge acquisition process, or whether knowledge application process, or knowledge reuse process, or purging process. We are looking at each of these elements, right? Again, we are looking at how this knowledge can be transformed in knowledge development using various methods, tools and technology. How can this be uh, to the organization and the need of the organization? Yeah. At the same time, what are the enablers for an organization in a way that it can really enable the knowledge exchange? Today, with the pandemic, the focus has become more on knowledge exchange. Working in remotely, organizations are able to understand the intricacy of knowledge sharing, knowledge asset management, and knowledge retention, right? These are the fundamental challenges which all the organizations are facing, right? With this kind of challenges, multifold in this pandemic, um, with this standard, what it provides us is an way um, to address systematically, right? The standard, one of the important things why I really kind of got into this standard was when I kind of left all this critical mindset about the standard, and when I studied, I really found the knowledge management standard does not provide you solution, right? It does not provide you solution, but it provides you a framework. Again, as I mentioned, it's an ontological framework. It talks about how to go about doing it step by step. How do you kind of build? I mean, it provides you an building block. And I would give you an example like an Lego. Lego blocks. You have Lego blocks, different shapes and dimension, and then you have and the whole challenge for us is just to put together based on our knowledge organizational requirement. Based on my journey, knowledge development, knowledge management, and from the perspective of personally, it is really challenge in terms of managing one's knowledge itself is a challenge. Now we are looking at team. The requirement of a team or a project, knowledge needs are completely different. Now we are looking at inter teams or inter functions or inter departments. Their knowledge needs are again completely different. Now we are looking at if we are just crossing the boundaries of organization. Organization does not work isolation. Again, organization works fundamentally with partner. We work with our suppliers, work with our customers, we work with our clients. So we need to really kind of broaden up how the knowledge flows across the ecosystem. Probably I just want to share one small slide here, just to kind of showcase, if you could see here, um, right? So, I mean, every layer, when we talk about nations, society, institution, governments, there's a complete knowledge field, a complete different level, right? Again, an organization works with various entities around, and there's a market which the organizations cater to. And again, all our organizations have to work within the framework of a nation and the government, policies, right? So now it is important that once we have this knowledge management system and ISO, there, in the market there has been a lot of concepts already. There are a lot of trainings already. There are theories, framework, procedures, engagement materials, etc. All these important things can be aligned to the requirements of the standard, right? Because whatever the ontological framework or the requirements are actually kind of capturing the essence of the complete and entire elements of this ontological framework, yeah. Which is really essence to the standard, yeah. With this kind of things, what happens is about 50-60 years back, when we talked about quality management, every person understood quality in his own perspective, yeah. My quality is different from what my parent company would understand. So similarly, in today's time, if organizations can really look at let's say you have not started your knowledge management journey, it is good. So today you can just download this standard and read across the whole standard and look at map each of the requirement and start building the blocks. You would move in the journey of knowledge management again, right? That is one. Again, let's say if you're a seasoned professional and your company is already has a solid knowledge management, then you could look at the standard and benchmark where are you, what are the gaps, and then address these gaps. And again, you could go evolve. There's a continuous improvement to your knowledge management, because there's no perfect system, right? As the time and environment circumstance changes, the organization needs to reinvent itself as of today. So similarly, if you really want to kind of start the knowledge management and need to get a buy-in, you could share the standard to your management, and you could you do not need to really explain in detail what it is, because again, no, you can, it's easier to sell to the management saying that this is the standard and we need to go about doing it, right? Because what I believe is knowledge management has been it has become an more and focused area in top industry. With this knowledge management standard, what has happened today is it is available for not only an individual. So how do we go about doing it? I mean, if I have to ask that, and I look at how do we go about doing it, I mean, we do not need to start at the top, right? I mean, knowledge management can be done at the project level, right? If a project manager willingly he wants to do it, he can just look at the standard and apply at the ontological level. When I say that, you can work at the project level. You can apply your these principles and requirements at the project level. Let's say you're working at a function or business unit level, you can work try to implement knowledge management at business level, or it can be top down or bottom up. I mean, it really provides you an systematic way of doing things. I think that is the best part of this ISO 3040. And not only your organization can go for this, I mean, and fulfill your requirements, right? um, Once you fulfill the and comply with the requirements, it becomes easier to sell this knowledge management system. You could also have your partners. You could have your vendors. You can have your contracting agencies. There's an ecosystem created based on this ISO 30401, where collaboration could increase. Again, connectivity and communication. These are the important things which we can really enhance overall aspects of it. um, to give you example, when we were doing this particular program, when I downloaded this standard and when I went through it, there were a couple of requirements which I thought was missing in our knowledge management system, and that itself was a new requirement, and we developed it as a requirement and plugged in, and now the system is kind of a complete, in terms of how do we delete the information, how do you manage old information. So this kind of key elements really helps us. So I think for fundamentally, I think today this standard provides us an great um, anchoring in the field of knowledge management. My experience always been people who come and join this knowledge management path. Generally, they just come in for 1 or 2 years and move out of the knowledge management as a stopgap. They come in here. People with real passion and they want to make a difference, kind of they stay here for a very long time. I think that's one of the reason why we should really appreciate the ISO 30401 working group to get this standard out and make it really possible. I think it has taken really long time for knowledge management standard to come out. Any other standard, I think today we have innovation standard, we have asset management standard much earlier than the knowledge management standard. I think that is also a important in the history of management science. The knowledge management standard is really going to be a flagship in this area. So how I see going forward is, we would want to see every organization, whether it is small, whether it is an medium-sized business, whether it is a small-scale business, or even an government institutes or large MNC companies. Not only that, any organization should really kind of take the standard and try to implement some key requirements, and there will be immediate productivity improvement. There will be enhanced collaboration, knowledge retention, and importantly asset management. Because today, let me just share how I experience knowledge management today is, if I'm able to find all the information what I need, within 2 clicks. If I'm able to find all, if I'm not able to find anything on the web or within our portal or within our knowledge management system, I should be able to at least know who is the right person to call and find the information. Not only call the person and talk to him, but he should be willing to share that information. That is the cultural aspect, right? Again, so in this way, the whole culture could be created using this standard. And definitely, I mean, going forward, having this kind of systematic way of building, not only at the smaller scales, it can be implemented at wherever, whatever journey you are in the knowledge management. You can look at the requirements and enhance your experience in knowledge managing. Most of the organization are doing knowledge management, but maybe in a different, we are using a different terms. There we are doing in the level of digital transformation. We might be doing knowledge management in terms of training, learning. So what I would say is knowledge management is inclusive of everything, because end of the day human operates in this knowledge field, right? Fundamentally, that is what is the key. And the more organizations start aligning to the standard requirements, start complying, it's going to really create a knowledge ecosystem, which is fundamental requirement for innovation, right? If Thomas Alva Edison wouldn't have created
Hopefully he comes right back. All the testing was flawless.
Hey, I got a question for the group because I was having a little trouble understanding him. Did he make a connection between the circles on the color code, or did I miss that?
I didn't hear it, but if he connects right back in, we can ask.
That was going to be my question. I just wasn't sure if I missed that or something.
Oh, wow. I think, yeah, he completely dropped. All right, well then, I would have normally said thank you right there. Let me pause recording.